What's up YouTube? Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a budget competitive profile for Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now this does involve the Primite cards, and this is going to be post Rarity Collection 5, and the reason I say that is in Rarity Collection 5, not only can you get access to Primite Lordy Load as a super rare, but you can also get access to Primite Ether Barrel, and this will technically be the third print for Ether Barrel, and I believe the third or fourth print now for Primite Lordy Load. So they're incredibly cheap and easy to pick up. This is going to include the main deck, the extra deck, and the side deck, all for well under £100 and $100 equivalent. Now what makes this so cheap and easy is that pretty much most of the cards in here are either really cheap pieces to pick up, or they all came within the Blue Eye Structure deck or the Fallen and the Virtuous decks, which you should be able to pick up again relatively cheaply and easily. So, please make sure you smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. Getting a video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours will also unlock a demo test hand combo video, so you have an idea of exactly how this deck wants to play now that you're able to put it together. The reason that I'm bringing this out before Rarity Collection 5 comes out is that the pre-orders have now started to go up online, so now is a good time to pick up those cards like the Primite Lordy Load, the Primite Drill Beam if you haven't got it already, and then all of the other missing pieces that you might want to consider for this build so that you get them as cheap as you possibly can. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile and show you exactly what we've got. So you start off with two Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now I've gone back to the original Blue Eyes artwork on this one, just for the pure fact that we're taking it back to its bare basics. This is exactly how you're going to upgrade your Blue Eyes over time, and if you have been following the Blue Eyes content I've been doing for a while now, it shows you the development from just getting the structure decks, then when we got certain sites of reprints you could upgrade it again, and now that we finally got the last pieces, you could even arguably include Dominus Purge. I've decided to stay away from that because I still want to utilize Ash Blossom, but that gives you a bit of an option if you wanted to upgrade it that one step further. Then we've got free Maiden of White. This can be very easily accessible and searched out by Sage with Eyes of Blue, which you're also going to want to max out on. Now, this is pretty much staple. I don't think you're going to be playing any less of ratios in this particular build. It's entirely up to you if you want to start to include cards like Kyberman, if you wanted to include cards like your Maiden of White, or if you wanted to include cards like your Master of White, which could then open up the door to give you quicker access to stuff like Crystal Wings. It could also help you go down a different synchro route if you wanted to include stuff like your Crimson Dragons. I've personally tried to avoid most of that. The only card that I would highly consider putting in that is going to give you the most of it is you could also consider the Kaiser Seahorse. The other card that I'd want to consider as I get them to one side is the Master with Eyes of Blue. And the reason you consider this one, which I am putting in this particular build, is the fact that it lets you bridge with your Ancient Fairy Dragon, spoiler, that can also help get you into a Crystal Wing. Now the reason you're going to bridge with your Ancient Fairy Dragon is that there's a card in the side deck that you can really easily lock down your opponent. And one thing you've got to be very careful of in this build is cards that will try to destroy the True Light. Because if they destroy the True Light, you lose all of your monsters, and that's something you need to be a little bit more careful of, which is something that I have considered when putting this build together. And that's when Master can come into the play, because this can give you a bit more grind factor. It does have a bit of a clash with the Primite package, because the whole idea of this one is you want to start off by normal summoning your Primite Ether Barrel. That then goes into the Blue Eyes Link 1, the Spirit, and then you'll be able to get your additional normal summon being your Sage of Eyes of Blue. That then searches out your Maiden, and then you start to go around the loop to get into your Blue Eyes consistency plays. But the Master with Eyes of Blue is just something you might want to consider if you want to be bridging a little bit more consistently, and it just gives you that option that this becomes your additional normal summon if your first normal summon is Sage with Eyes of Blue. Carrying on with the Blue Eyes cards, we are playing 3 Wishes for Eyes of Blue. This is another massive consistency piece. Discarding the card to add a level 1 Light Tuner, so that's how you're going to be able to get to your Sage a little bit more consistently. Or if you already open up your Sage, you can go directly into your Master or even your Maiden. You also then get to add a spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon that is different from the cards that are currently in your graveyard, which counts your Wishes for Eyes of Blue. And the idea is you can banish your Wishes for Eyes of Blue to equip a Blue Eyes monster from the extra deck to a Blue Eyes monster you control on the field, and then that's how you can kind of free up that restriction. The other card we're playing is one Mausoleum of White. It's a bit of a disappointment that this doesn't actually list specifically like searchability, because it does send a normal monster. It doesn't actually say send Blue Eyes White Dragon from deck to the grave, but more times than not, if you're playing it in Blue Eyes, that's exactly what you're going to be doing anyway. So unfortunately, it doesn't mention Blue Eyes. It's not searchable that way, but the Spirit of Eyes of Blue, the Link 1 monster, does that job for you. Then we've got one Raw of the Blue-Eyed Dragon. So this is just to special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon directly from the deck. Or if you already control Blue Eyes White Dragon, you get to special summon any Blue Eyes monster. So if you did want to consider playing Jet Dragon, which I think is a really kind of cool, underrated card that a lot of people kind of overlook and can be really cool to catch your opponent off guard, you can choose to do so as well. It also has the additional graveyard effect to banish it and then fusion summon, which can help get you into your Tyrant Dragon, and I'll talk about that once I get to the extra deck. Then the final two cards we're playing is the one True Light and the one Majesty of White Dragons. Now, True Light is the best and the weakest card in the entire deck. Now, let me explain it before you go crazy. The reason it's the best is it lets you either revive Blue Eyes White Dragon, or it can let you set a card that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon directly from the deck, being a spell or trap. So it gives you access to your Wishes, to your Majesty, to your Raw. The biggest downside of is if this card leaves the field and goes specifically to the graveyard, big difference from True Light, from Eternal Soul, but if that happens, it will then destroy all monsters that you control. So it's kind of a self-destruction button, but then its effects are just that good that it kind of needed to have that restriction, so otherwise it wouldn't be that crazy. But still very, very good card. You will be playing it. It's crazy how easy Maiden can get access to it. And of course, Maiden can get it back from the graveyard as well. The other is you don't really want to see this, but if you do, your Maiden will be like a neg 1. Then we've got Majesty of the White Dragons. I love this card as well. So you show up to 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in the hand. Now, obviously, we're only playing 2, so you're only ever going to reveal 2, but that should be more than enough. From your hand, field, and or graveyard to then non-target destroy an equal number of cards your opponent controls. You can banish it from the graveyard to ritual summon a ritual monster. You can play Blue Eyes Chaos Max if you wanted to, and if you were to go down that route, you could also consider the Dragon Master Magia, but as this currently stands, that doesn't mean that the deck's going to be budget, because Magia is still kind of crazy expensive. Moving on to the non-engine, and this is where the Blue Eyes kind of really frees itself up because it has so much space to play a lot of non-engine. You got 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, so if you did buy the Legendary 5Ds deck, you'll have access to this, but you can also get access to this through a multitude of ways. It's been reprinted to death now. 2 Effect Veilers and 2 Ghost Bells. I'm playing the 1 Bisteel Magnum. You don't have to, but I quite like this as an option to give you access to a dragon. It does make it a bit more consistent if you want to play the Kaiser Seahorse as well, but I do like the idea that this can still be a very good disruptor in the current format that we're in. Then I've gone with 2 Infinite Impermanence and 1 Call by the Grave. And the reason I've gone with the 2 Infinite Impermanence is because I'm also main decking 3 Mulchummy Perulias, 2 Forbidden Droplets, and 2 Fallen and the Virtuous. Now the reason I'm main decking Perulia over Fuelos, and you can just swap them around if you wanted to, is that Fuelos is currently in my side deck. And the reason I like the idea of Perulia right now is I feel that with cards like, or decks like Radiance running around, Vanquish Soul Canine is still running around as well. The Perulia might be a better card for the overall range. Now, of course, if you do go into a matchup and you know exactly, or you go into an environment that you know it's going to be like Dracotals, or you know it's going to be something that doesn't summon a lot from the hand, then you would main deck your Fuelos. I just think the Perulia will actually catch a lot more people off guard right now than the Fua, and it's entirely up to you which ones you want to choose to play. I went with 2 Forbidden Droplet and 2 Fallen and the Virtuous, which is why I'm also playing 2 Infinite Impermanences, is so that I could fit in 2 copies of the Fallen and the Virtuous. I think the card is just so incredibly good, and what you need to be very careful of with this particular deck, as I've already mentioned, True Light is a weak spot. It is something that with Mystical Space Typhoon running around in the format, it will always be targeted to try and be destroyed, and when there are multiple Mystical Space Typhoons as well, it's not going to be as easy to stop the first thing that tries to destroy it with a Drill Beam, for example. They can then follow up with another one. So I like the idea that even if they blow out my entire monster lineup, I'm still going to utilize the ability to use Fallen and the Virtuous to disrupt them. I've also got the other hand interactions like the Ash Blossoms, the Bells, the Imperms that can also disrupt them. And I also have Forbidden Droplet. So at the end of the day, if I'm about to lose my True Light and my monsters, I could send them off a Forbidden Droplet and then cause my opponent just as many issues. But that really comes down to the field state that it currently is in. Then onto the Primite package, so 3 of your Ether Barrels with your 3 Lordy Loads and the 1 Drill Beam. In some builds, you can play more Drill Beams if you wanted to, because if you hard open up a Drill Beam, that opens up the doors to some other Primite cards if you wanted to. But honestly, I'm quite happy with a 3, 3, and 1. I think it just works out nicely and keeps the deck relatively tidy and compact. So that's it for the entire main deck. Relatively cheap, budget, and easy because all of those cards, bar the Primites, pretty much came in some form of a starter deck. And if you are lucky enough to be in America right now, or if you feel that you have to wait until the brand new legendary modern decks, your Perulia, Fuelos, and Meows are also being reprinted in there as well. So it makes the prices even cheaper. Moving on to the extra deck, going to be playing 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons. You can play 3 if you want to. The reason you'd play 3 is if you do open up the door to play the Crimson Dragon route, because then you can go into Crimson Dragon to start off Surf Dragon, and then you build up an additional negation. Honestly, I decided to deviate away from that because I try to take into account my side deck a little bit more as well. And more times than not, when you do get access to the Crimson Dragon, you've probably gone through a lot of combo pieces. So then all you need to be a bit more careful of is some of the breakers your opponent has. And if they just try and take out your True Light, you can better off pretty much back it up and protect it with other routes you can consider. The targets you can summon off the back of your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon is your Ultimate Spirit Dragon. This gives you that target negation and the ability that obviously when it's destroyed, it floats back into the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon or Blue Eyes White Dragon if you want to. Just kind of center these up a bit more. The other targets you can summon off the back of your Spirit Dragon are your Lightstorm Dragon. So this is to help you deal with spells and traps. Then we've got the Ancient Fairy Life Dragon. This is your aggressor, so you summon this going second. And the idea is you go Spirit Dragon, attack, Spirit Dragon's effect, tribute itself out, bring out the Ancient Fairy Dragon because your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon always summons in defense mode, but your Ancient Fairy Life Dragon can attack in defense position, which will be 3,300, which is very, very important. Then the final card that you can summon off of the back of directly your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon is going to be your Ancient Fairy Dragon. And the reason we play this is for a card in our side deck. Now, you don't have to play this route. This is where you can open it up. That's where your third Spirit Dragon comes into play. The Fallen and the Virtuous opens up the door for your Crimson Dragon and your Stardust Surf Dragon. It gives you a lot of different options. Then we've got the 1 Crystal Wing. So this is how you can upgrade your Ancient Fairy Dragon once it's done its job for you and get into a Crystal Wing, which will be the equivalent of what you're trying to achieve with your Crimson Dragon and your Stardust Dragon. For the fusion monsters, we've got the 1 Tyrant Dragon and the 1 Neo Blue Eyes. The idea is that with your wishes for Eyes of Blue, you want to equip your Neo Blue Eyes to one of your Blue Eyes monsters, and then you'll be able to fusion or contact fuse technically into your Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Completely optional on this one. Some builds do play 2 Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon, and I'm going to explain to you why I'm personally not playing 2 once I get to the last 2 cards in this extra deck. For the Link monsters, we're playing 2 Spirit with Eyes of Blue. The idea is it's a Link 1 monster that gets you access to Mausoleum of White. Mausoleum of White sends Blue Eyes from the deck to the graveyard. You can then tribute off your Spirit with Eyes of Blue to bring back the Blue Eyes White Dragon and get you out of the Dragon Lock. If you are in a Dragon Lock, that's not the end of the world because you can just link it off and go into Hieratic Seals of the Heavenly Spheres. The final Link monster we're playing is the SP Little Knight, just a generic good Link 2 monster. And again, if you get the legendary modernized decks, this will come as a common, so very cheap, very easy to pick up. If you don't want to wait that long, you should be able to pick up from super rare, ultra rare, collector's rare, you name it. It's pretty much had every rarity print to name to date as far as I'm aware. So that could be very, very useful for you. And the last 2 cards in the extra deck are your targets for the Fallen and the Virtuous. One is dirt cheap, and if you wanted to and you don't want to be budging into the second card I'm about to show you, you can just play a second Albion the Branded Dragon. But the second card we are playing is the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon. Now, I fully understand that this card is currently £20 a copy, and that is probably the most expensive single card in the entire deck, which pushes you close to your budget. So if you don't want to be spending out for this particular card, that is absolutely fine. Just play a second Albion the Branded Dragon. It will do relatively the same job. The reason that we do play the 1 Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon is that I like the idea that I'm not playing Free Fallen and the Virtuous. If I was playing Free Fallen and the Virtuous, you'd probably always want to recycle your Albion. But what this card can do is it can recycle your Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon if you wanted to. Remember, you don't have to, but that is an option for you. And that's why you don't need to be playing 2 Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragons if you wanted to go down a double Tyrant Dragon option. But still, what I like about the Ecclesia is that ability that you can shuffle itself back, plus your Albion or your Tyrant Dragon, and then add an additional disruption. So your Fallen and the Virtuous becomes 1 disruption of Fallen and the Virtuous into a second one by sending the Albion sets the Fallen and the Virtuous, which then turns into a third one by the time you use the Fallen and the Virtuous, the second copy, to then send your Ecclesia. So then when it comes back to your turn, you can use the Ecclesia's effect to put back one of these 2 into the extra deck, and then that gives you your third and final disruption from 1 Fallen and the Virtuous, which is insanely powerful. Like I said, if you don't want to spend out on this one, you play a second Albion, absolutely fine. You just go from 1 disruption to 2 disruptions, 3 disruptions to 2 disruptions, and 1 to 2, entirely up to you. So that's it for the entire main deck. Again, relatively cheap and budget. Moving into the side deck. So for the side deck, I've gone with 2 Mulchumi Fulos, 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, and 2 Droll and Lockbird. Now, the idea behind playing 2s of each of these is I wanted to open up some space for more like generic Triple Tactics Thrust targets, but also I'm not the biggest fan of playing 6 Chummies. Entirely up to you. You can switch these around. So these would be 2 Prulia in your side deck and 3 Fuelos in the main deck. And I feel that most environments, like Droll is limited, semi-limited to 2 anyway, so you can't play more than that. But I feel that some places, the idea is that if I'm going second, Nibiru comes in, so do the Chummies. So I increase my consistency already, and I wanted to have space to play a bit more of a range in the side deck. For the spells, I went with 2 Cosmic Cyclone, just because I need to respect certain cards in the current format. Dimensional Fissure can be a big issue for Blue Eyes. When you take away their graveyard, it means that Maiden becomes a lot more awkward. You can't revive off the back of True Light as consistently as you would have liked to as well. So being able to play cards like Cosmic Cyclone and Harpy's Feather Duster can be a big game changer. Then I'm also playing 2 Trill Tactics Frost off the back of this as well. The reason for that is just naturally in the main deck, it can get me access to Majesty, Roar of Blue Eyes, Wishes for Eyes of Blue, and Infinite Impermanence. When you take the side deck into account, it can get you access to your Harpy's Feather Duster, but it can also get me access to the generic option of the Black Goat Laughs. Now, you could consider different Dimension Grounds. That one is only going to be effective against decks that do not want their need their graveyard. That really comes down to the environment you're going to. What I mean by that one is Radiant Typhoon already play Dimension Fissure. You also look at Mitsurugis, they can also play Dimension Fissure, so they don't really care about their graveyard, which means you don't have that generic option that could lock down a Crocea, or it could also lock down a Murakumo. And I feel that that's where Black Goat Last can come in to give you a bit of balance for everything you need, and then it can also be used in the Rogue matchups to target one of their cards, or like name a specific card that is going to be effective for them and shut them down. The final 3 cards I want to show you is 2 Dragon's Mind. Arguably, I'd be playing this at 3. I just really like how effective this is in Blue Eyes, and it's one of the ones that you would take out the 3 Perulias when you're going first, and you'd put in 3 Dragon's Mind, no problems, no issues, and straight away the Dragon's Mind will lock your opponent down. And the fact you can recycle it means that your discard fodder off the back of Wishes, and even your Forbidden Droplet just becomes a little bit more freeing for you to use as and when you see fit. And then the final card, the card that we are playing because of Ancient Fairy Dragon, and that is going to be your Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Now, the reason that this one's in here is that through the route of play, you can actually set up your field with a Maiden, plus the ability of having a Crystal Wing to protect it from effects, and you could also back it up with either Crystal Wing, or you could go into the Hieratic Seals, and then you also have True Light as well to protect it a little bit more. But the idea is that it means that your opponent during the draw phase, they can't start firing off like their Radiant Chants, their Radiant Visions, and everything else in between. You can really lock them down, and they won't be able to play, which is massively, massively important. It means your opponent needs to put a Spellcaster on the field first before they use their Rahul Dracotel, before they use Ketu. It really does limit them. And then even if they try to get rid of your Spellcaster, Maiden has that ability to protect and loop around with your your Sage of Eyes of Blue as well. And that could be very, very effective, so they need to attack you twice. And even when they try to attack you twice, you still have the ability of True Light, bring back Blue Eyes, bring back Maiden, and you kind of complete this wall again and completely shuts them down. And Ancient Fairy Dragon is the best card for that because you're so consistently easy to search out your Mausoleum that you can use your Ancient Fairy Dragon, destroy your Mausoleum, and then swap it out for the Secret Village of the Spellcasters. So that's it for the entire main deck, extra deck, side deck, you name it. And all of this can be built for a very, very tidy budget of well under $100. Now, as I've already mentioned with the extra deck, the most expensive card in that one is going to be Ecclesia, the Darkest Dragon, but that's entirely up to you if you choose and wish to use it or not. If you don't, then you'd go for the second Albion, and you'd pretty much get the exact same applications, just one less interruption. So, as I mentioned at the start of the video, if you get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I will bring you a dedicated test hand combo video for it as well, showing you some of the siding patterns on top of it, so you have a bit of an idea of how you want to be piloting this deck, how you utilize the side deck, and what it can do going first and second. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.